Good afternoon, Numi Nation. Welcome to the 4 o'clock slot of NuMinds TV. It is From the Vault. Today we're going to do one of my favorite pastimes, and that is play with words. So experimenting with a new technology today, getting some screen share on. So waiting for confirmation here from the team that you could see me now. Okay, good. Here we go. Beautiful. Okay, so you know that 4 o'clock is the slot. Let me get make sure you guys get some good light here. 4 o'clock is the slot in the day when Mr. Justin and I kind of dig into the deep history of NuMinds and pull out some classic activities and lessons from the early days. And confession here, I'm actually an English major. My undergrad study at university was in English. I've always loved literature. I've always loved poetry. And there's something that just can't replace what we call wordplay. And this is having fun with words. So, of course, one thing that the kids are not getting right now when they're, at home, getting the homeschool situation is sort of the traditional English class or literature class. That is no reason whatsoever not to build your vocabulary, not to develop critical thinking. And good, I'm getting some confirmation from the team here that the text coming through fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is we're going to do a little lesson on a phenomena in the history of words and speech and literature called a Spoonerism. But before I just dive straight into a definition of a Spoonerism, we're going to look at an example. It's a classic example from an author a lot of you parents out there, if you're watching with your child right now, will know, and that's Shel Silverstein. So what I'm going to do is switch out screens here. So for just a second, that looks a little odd, right? A big me and a little me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm holding on a second. Forgive the pause. There's a little bit of lag on my monitor here. I want to make sure that you can see me and the screen correctly before I continue. Now you guys are going to end up having, when it gets caught up, you're going to have an awkward pause there, but that's okay. Okay, I just got confirmation from the past that my screen has switched over. So this phenomena called Spoonerisms is perhaps best encapsulated by the author Shel Silverstein in his book Runny Babbitt. So before I explain what it is, kids, those of you watching and listening, I just want you to listen to my read aloud of a couple of Shel Silverstein's poems from his book Runny Babbitt, and then we'll kind of work backwards and figure out exactly what a Spoonerism might be. Okay, so this is the opening poem from Runny Babbitt. Way down in the green woods where the animals all play, they do things and they say things in a different sort of way. Instead of saying purple hat, they all say herple pat. Instead of saying feed the cat, they just say seed the fat. So if you say let's beat a rook, that's Billy as can see, you're talking Runny Babbitt talk, just like Mim and he. Okay, so by now you're probably starting to see, it's like you might be having this odd sensation where you can understand the meaning, but it still sounds funny and silly, right? Or maybe some of you heard that and can see this and you're saying to yourselves, I know what he's doing there. I know what's going on there, but that's okay. I'm going to read a couple more examples. and see if you can get even deeper. Okay. The funny family. Runny fat a hamily. Matter of fact, he had a souther and 2 bristers, a dummy and a mad. His mama fed him merit silk and parrot sigh and such, and all of them were happy in their cozy honey butch. And this is an accompanying poem called The Bunny Family. Actually, it's the translation, which I don't think you need, but it might help you kind of dissect what's going on here with the Spoonerisms. Okay, let's do another one. Runny's hand-new brat. Runny got a present, a lovely Herple pat. He put it on and passed his owls. What do you think of that? One said, ooh, it's storable. One said, yuck, it hinks. Now Runny Babbitt never asked what other people pink. And I don't blame him, right? He did not get some positive feedback. He was trying to be open and vulnerable with his friends, and he did not get some positive feedback from his friends about that one. So you're kind of seeing what's happening here. So a Spoonerism is when the front end sounds of 2 words are flipped or flip-flopped. Okay? And we do it intentionally when we're trying to have fun and play around with them, like Shel Silverstein was. But the origin of this concept actually goes back into history, and it has the name Spoonerisms because it's named after a specific guy. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you from Wikipedia here one of the origins of Spoonerism. So a Spoonerism is an error in speech in which corresponding consonants, vowels, or morphemes are switched between 2 words in a phrase. Okay? So they're named after this guy, Reverend William Archibald Spooner, warden of New College, Oxford. So this English guy who lived, in the 1800s, into the 1900s, he was a preacher, and the story goes that he did this so often when he was preaching that it got named after him. Now, if you dig a little bit into the research, it seems like the poor guy got a really unfair rap, that he may have done this once in his lifetime, but it's one of those things that got blown into out of proportion. And so he has a whole literary phenomena named after him, which is probably apocryphal. Big vocab word there. That just means like not true, like kind of a myth of history. So this guy Spooner, maybe once in the wrong day, wrong time with the wrong people in the audience, did this. He flipped the front sounds of 2 words, 2 back-to-back words, and now there's a whole phenomena named after him called Spoonerisms. Okay? So they can happen by accident. A lot of comedians have taken this concept and they do it on purpose because it has like a fun, poetic ring and playful feel to it. Let's look at another Shel Silverstein example, and then what I want to do is kind of like break one down together. Might be a little tricky with the lag we have going on, but I'll see if I can get some audience interaction from there. I see Mr. T on, and I know that he is a wordsmith and he would love this kind of wordplay. So hopefully the lag will not prevent us from getting some of you guys involved live. Okay? Runny Met's Gutty. I'm going to pause for a moment there. So kids, now that you know the definition, we've dissected what a Spoonerism is. Let's analyze that a little bit. Runny. So we know Runny is the name of the rabbit, right? Met's Gutty. So it looks like the 2 front sounds got flipped. So we know that it gets muddy, right? We know that it gets muddy. All right. So here we got a comment from Kristen here. I know a 4-year-old that does this on an hourly basis. In fact, I think he's doing it right now. Awesome. Kristen, if you can get a live example and punch it in there, I would love to hear it. It is something that kids do naturally. And I think my theory is that I think one reason we enjoy Spoonerism so much is because they're kind of come naturally from our childhood as part of our wiring as we're learning language, maybe. Okay? Okay, guys, let's dig into this one. Runny Met's Gutty. Runny Babbitt mought all gutty, making putty mize. His wama mashed him with the clothes and hung him out to dry. That sounds mean. Toad Jurtle said, "What are you doing so high a grove the bound?" Runny Babbitt sinned and grayed, "Oh, I'm just rangin' hound. Just rangin' hound, y'all." You guys able to dissect that one? Isn't that kind of fun? So this one, they didn't provide the translation side by side for us, so let's dig in a little bit. So Runny Babbit got all gutty. Okay, so he got all muddy. Making putty mice. Making muddy pies. Who doesn't love to do that? Mud pies. And hung him out to dry. Oh, sorry. His wama mashed him with the clothes. Did his wama mash him? No, but his mama washed him with the clothes. So imagine this mud-caked little bunny. His mom sees him. She's shocked. She picks him up. She literally washes him with the clothes. Get in the washer, okay? And then hung him out to dry. Toe Jurtle said, that must be Joe Turtle. What are you doing? So high above the bound. So what are you doing all the way up there, high above the ground, Runny Babbit? Runny Babbit sinned and grayed. Did he sin and grayed? No, he grinned and said. Runny Babbit grinned and said, I'm just ranging hound. I'm just hanging around. Okay. So I want to show you kids how you can create your own very funny Spoonerism poem. We can call it a Runny Babbit poem all by yourself. Hey, I think looks like Miss Laya just joined. She's one of our returning students. She popped in almost every day at 4 last week. So, Laya, if you're just joining, we're talking about Spoonerisms and we're doing some Runny Babbit style poems. We're looking at Shel Silverstein, and Shel Silverstein was a very talented and fun poet who took this concept of Spoonerisms and wrote a whole book called Runny Babbit. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump over and we're going to look at this. I started to make this kind of silly poem without any Spoonerisms in it. And what I'm going to do is show how easy it is to start with a simple poem, piece of writing, and turn it into something silly by making it a Spoonerism. Okay? So I called this one, first I'm going to read it just as is, with no modifications, and then we'll see what we do with it from there. Homeschool in quarantine. First thing in the morning, I wake and brush my teeth, pour a bowl of cereal and sit back in relief. All day I'll hardly crack a book and lots of time to play. That's how I picture school in these quarantine days. How many of you out there, when you heard about these weeks of homeschool that may be in front of you, thought, I think this is going to be like vacation, not school. And I wonder how that's playing out. Well, we'll find out. All we have to do is wait and see. But in the meantime, we can have fun doing wordplay like this. So, it's going to be a little awkward with the lag, but I'm going to try to get some audience participation in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recopy the whole poem. So I'm just going to go like this. So this is like the written quote normally, right? So I'm going to copy the whole thing. And then down below, we're going to redo it Runny Babbit style. So what I'm going to want is some feedback from our live audience here on what I might want to flip around. So let's leave the title. It's a little tricky with the Q in there, but let's look at that first line. It says, this is quote normal, right? First thing in the morning, I wake and brush my teeth. What could I mess around with in that first line to spoonerize it? We'll go ahead and make up a word there. Well, how could we spoonerize that first line, silly it up a little bit, and have fun with this? And it looks like the stream's getting caught up with me, so I'm going to let the live audience chime in here. I'm just going to sit. And while I'm waiting, some of you may be familiar with other Shel Silverstein books, like Where the Sidewalk Ends. Oh my goodness. If you got a hold of a copy of that during these crazy times, I can see that being like the perfect book companion. And that there's a Where the Sidewalk Ends, and then there's a second one as well. Those are just crazy fun poems. Okay? So I'm holding off here. I'm seeing if anyone can help me out with some insider input on what we could do with that first line. First thing in the morning, I wake and brush my teeth. Okay? And this is just one, by the way, this is just one of 3 wordplay activities I'm going to give you that are just absolute fun that you can do who know you could be so entertained with a piece of paper and a pencil, really. If you have a whiteboard, it's kind of fun to use a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker for these activities, because what you can do is you can experiment and swap out more quickly than you could with a pencil and paper. So it looks like there's some lag in the comments coming through. So I'm just going to go ahead and go forward and do this. Okay. Kristen's saying she doesn't have lag. I think that what I'm noticing is, what I'm doing live here takes about 30 to 40 seconds. I've got the Facebook live stream going on my phone over here. So that's what's going on. So if you just tuned in, looks like we just had a bump in live viewership. That is absolutely fantastic. I want to welcome everyone who just jumped in. This is a lesson from the NuMinds Vault on wordplay. We're talking about Spoonerisms. And if you just jumped in, I encourage you later to go back and watch the first part of the video, because we walk through some definitions and some examples from Shel Silverstein. Now we're working together. Hey, Devin. Yeah. So, okay. We got some input from Devin. He says, this is Devin. You can say first thing in the warming. Oh, I like that. I like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say merst thing in the warning. Okay. So that's one flip. And we got another one. Thank you. Devin chimes in again. I trush my beef. Yes. That's the one that I wanted to do. I was hoping someone would say that. I wake and trush my beef. It just sounds silly, doesn't it? So let's try this again. First line. Homeschool and quarantine. First thing in the morning, I wake and trush my beef. Oh my gosh. That sounds like a classic Lewis Carroll poem or something from Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so let's look at the second line. Pour a bowl of cereal and sit back in relief. Any thoughts on that second line? Pour a bowl of cereal and sit back in relief. I've got some ideas. I see at least two places that I really want to flip. One, maybe. Like the second one's a little tricky. I'm kind of interested in what y'all say. Maybe Devin has an idea. Maybe Mr. T out there, Miss Kristen. Anyone else tuned in? I think Miss Janet is on there as well. So I don't know if Miss Kristen has attached it yet. Or she's helping me out. She's the NuMinds that you see on there. But I'm gonna, parents and kids, we're gonna attach a link to a one-page PDF file that has this activity and two other wordplay activities. So if you're like me and you just love playing around with words and having fun, it's one of your favorite forms of comedy relief, then we got 3 excellent, easy activities. They're all based on books. I know some libraries are closed right now, but they should be things that you can access online. Maybe the whole book read aloud on YouTube, or a digital copy, or on your Kindle. I mean, either way, it's like for your language arts time each day, this will do it. I mean, wordplay, it's so much more than just fun and play. You're like building your critical thinking in your brain, and you're nurturing future comedy and present day comedy as well. Okay, we've got some input. Okay, now we've got Devin's brother chiming in. He says, you bore a pole. 100%. That's what I was just waiting to put. So we got bore a pole. Bore a pole of cereal. Man, these are becoming tongue twisters. Okay. And sit back in relief. Now, the second part I'm having trouble with. I know what I'm going to do. This sounds kind of silly. I'm not even going to wait for input on this one. I'm going to put bitsack in relief. I wonder if we could do a triple, like take 3, but let's just leave it like that. Okay, what I like to do is every time I change a line is go back and reread it from the beginning and see how it flows. Okay, so homeschool and quarantine by NuMinds TV. You guys are helping me, so you're all the authors. First thing in the morning, I wake and crush my beef. Bore a pole of cereal and bitsack in relief. I'm laughing to myself, right? It's a good sign when you make yourself laugh. Well, we're working together, so we're making each other laugh. Hopefully you're gigging there in live land. Okay. And rip back in silly. Oh, I like that too. So either Drew or Devin chimed in and said, and rip back in relief. That would be another option. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward, but that would be funny as well. Okay. All right. So let's look at this next line. All day I'll hardly crack a book. All day I'll hardly crack a buck. Let's keep this one simple. I think what I'm going to do is brack a cook. Okay? Brack a cook. So here we go again. Whole thing. Don't giggle. Don't smile or giggle. This is serious. This is your language arts period. It's not for laughing. I can't even say that without laughing. Okay. Homeschool and Quarantine by NuMinds TV. First thing in the morning, I wake and trush my beef. Bore a pole of cereal and bitsack in relief. All day I'll hardly brack a cook. All right. We got the next line. And lots of time to play is the regular, right? And lots of time to play. And pots, how about this? And pots of lime to, well, it was an L, so we'll just leave it like that, to lay. That kind of makes sense, right? Okay? So here we go again. Whole poem, don't laugh. This is your English class. It's not supposed to be fun. Whoever said that? That's not true. Language should be fun. It should be enjoyable. Homeschool and Quarantine by NuMinds TV. First thing in the morning, I wake and crush my beef. Bore a pole of cereal and bitsack in relief. All day I'll hardly brack a cook and pots of lime to lay. And then the final line, we're going to finish this off, friends. That's how I picture school in these quarantine days. Okay? All right, so either Devin or Drew chimed in with tots of lime. Yeah, kind of the same idea I had. I just did a triple switch. I just did a triple flip, right? Okay, this last line, any ideas? I know we've got this 30-second lag, so I'll fill it with random talk and wait for you guys to chime in. But this is interesting. This last line doesn't have quite as many nouns, right? So we may need to get a little creative. That's how I picture school in these quarantine days. What words could we spoonerize there? Okay. Yeah, Mr. T finally chimed in. He says, wacky, wacky. Some musical accompaniment from Mr. Justin would bring even more joy. Can you imagine if me and Mr. Justin teamed up and I was reciting spoonerized poems and Mr. Justin was playing his wacky guitar? That would be great fun. That's what I call school. All right. Any help at all with this last line? Mr. T, now that you're live, maybe you can chime in. That's how I picture school in these quarantine days. Maybe we could do a triple switch, like choose 3 of the words and move those front sounds around, those front letters around. Yeah. Great reference, Mr. T. Mr. T says Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. A very similar wordplay, right? So kids, if you have not checked out Jabberwocky, it's a true joy. Totally in line with the Shel Silverstein vibe. Totally playful with the words. And it's one of those strange things where the words themselves, when you read them, they're kind of nonsense words, but somehow you can understand it because he's dug into like the inner grammar that we know. Okay, good. We got the brothers chiming in. One of the brothers, Hat's how I picture. Okay, let's do that. I like it. So switching those two. Actually, it's an H. So what we'll do is we'll just remove the little H. Hat's Tau, and I'll remove that. That's how I picture. And we could leave picture. How about this? Hat's how I picture. Let's do a triple switch with school, quarantine, and days. So I'm going to call this dual. In these, so that was school, right? So that was an kind of an SCH sound. Let's do like this. Dorantine skays. That's how I picture dual in these Dorantine skays. That's a little awkward. That's how it came out right now. But let's go ahead and read the whole thing as a summary and see how it turns out. Remember, no laughing. That's the rule. I'm just kidding again. You better be laughing and giggling. That's the whole point of wordplay. Okay? Homeschool and Quarantine by NuMinds TV. First thing in the morning, I wake and trush my beef. Bore a pole of cereal and bitsack in relief. All day I'll hardly brack a cook and pots of lime to lay. That's how I picture duel in these quarantine skays. All right, I love it. That was a lot of fun. So easy. Notice how simple this starting poem was. Parents, if you're watching, what a fantastic writing assignment. I can't imagine this not being fun. Kids, this could be a blast. And by the way, those of you out here who do your own, we really want to see the stuff that you're doing and writing. And so send it in, either post it on Facebook and have your parents tag NuMinds so we can find it and share it, or send it straight to us. You can send it on NuMinds. You can email it to us at NuMindsAdmin@NuMind.com. Either way. But I want to show you. So the link to this one-page PDF you will find as well. Okay, so it has 3 different wordplay activities. The one we just did was Spoonerisms. So what you have is, what's the activity? What is the activity? What book does it use? And what can I do? Okay, or I'm sorry, a definition of what it is. What book can I use? And then what is it? So we just did Spoonerisms. There's a fun type of riddle called a Hinky Pinky. I used to have a blast with those. In the early days of NuMinds, when I did private sessions, we used to do these wordplay sessions a lot. So Hinky Pinkies are a lot of fun. They're a kind of riddle. If you make any of those, send them. Palindromes, oh my goodness, friends. Palindromes are a blast. That's when a word or a phrase or even a sentence reads the same forwards and backwards. Okay? So, a classic one is race car. On a piece of paper right now, or on a whiteboard if you have one, write the word race car, and then read it backwards. Call out the letters backwards. R-A-C. Get it? E. Oh my gosh, right? And then squinch those letters together. That's a palindrome. Well, there's some books out there that have entire sentences, almost paragraphs that are palindromes. It's really mind-blowing. It's a lot of fun in terms of wordplay. Okay? Yeah, thank you, Mr. T. He says, illustrations would be fantastic as well, right? Like, for example, in the poem that we did, Beef, Duel, and Powell, what does that look like from a drawing point of view? Because one of the things that Shel Silverstein always did that kind of like added a special layer to his poems are the illustrations. So, if you guys out there can do your own Runny Babbitt poem and illustrate it and send it to us, we would be so grateful. We would feature you. You'd be the student of the decade. Okay, that's exaggerating a little bit, but we would love, love, love to see that and share it. Okay? Hey, thanks for the comment. Amisha and the 2 boys there, thanks so much for your participation and for the positive feedback. And anyone out there watching this live, as soon as you can write a Runny Babbitt poem, we want to see it. If you're watching this on NuMinds TV, the recording, you can still write your Runny Babbitt poem and send it to us. There's no deadline for this. So, parents, this PDF is here for you. Print it out. You've got 3 fantastic wordplay activities you can use with the kiddos. Kids, if you can get them to print it, you can do them yourself. The only slight challenge right now might be accessing these books, but hey, we got Kindles, we've got online libraries, we've got free access. So take advantage. Thanks for tuning in to The Vault. Thanks for tuning in to NuMinds TV, home of real inspired learning for all. And remember, everybody out there, pursue your passion until it becomes your talent, because that is the magic formula. And with that, I'm gonna sign out from this session. I hope to see you all. Parents, I'll be back at 5 to sign off for the day. Otherwise, I'll see you kiddos again tomorrow. Mr. Justin will be on at 4. I'll be back on Wednesday at 4 with another very fun lesson.